Welcome back to Creating Inner Beauty. I'm Liz. I'm an intuitive coach, healer, and priestess for conscious women. And I'm here with my good friend Giulietta from Liberated Goddess. And we're in our third video in a three-part series called From Therapist to Priestess, where we talk all about our journeys as therapists who have felt called by the goddesses to step into working more deeply with goddess energy for our own healing and growth, as well as to step into our priestess role in our work with others. And so, just as a little recap, in our first video, we talked all about our personal experiences and journeys with feeling called to work with the goddesses. In our second video, we talked about what do we mean by the term priestess and what does it mean to step into the work of a priestess. And in this video, we're diving a little bit deeper into that and talking about our challenges with stepping into that role, as well as going to explore a little bit how you, if you feel called to working with the goddess, can start that work for yourself. And if you feel called to take that next step in your journey as a healer, to step into that role of embodying your priestess self, what you can do to get that started. So I think at the end of our last video, Giulietta, we left off talking about, so what are some of the challenges that we've experienced as we've done this journey and this transition into the role of priestess? So I'd love to hear a little bit more about what that's been like for you. And I know have had some challenges with that too that I'd love to share.
Yes, absolutely. I'm so excited to dive in deeper with you today. So, I kind of reflecting on the challenges of really stepping into my path as priestess, there's been a few themes. One has been this fear of being judged, this fear of being seen, which has been, as we kind of talked about in the past videos, it's been an ongoing journey in my life, this fear of being different, this fear of being seen, of making waves, of what if I'm judged, what if I am different. And I think particularly as a therapist there can be a little bit of this judgment in certain parts of therapist communities, as far as people who do walk their own path, people who maybe transition to coaching or to spiritual work. So I think there was a lot of those internalized messages that were adding on to those core wounds that I had been carrying, as far as the fear of being seen or judged. And another piece that really has shown up for me is the sense of kind of imposter syndrome of, who am I to claim this? Who am I to step into this role as priestess? And I think really the theme out of all of this has been that self-worth, and really coming into self-love and embracing all of the parts of me. And a big piece of that too has been kind of the third challenge I've been facing, is really coming into my feminine, receptive, soft energy. I have a tendency to over push myself, overwork, kind of burn myself out in my therapist role. And what I've been really needing to do these last few years is soften and slow down and connect with receptivity and with my intuition, and really look at these ways that I haven't been loving to myself, as far as overworking or making myself small, or not being my authentic self, or not embracing really my gifts and my intuition that I know have been calling to me for so many years. So I think really for me, the big challenge has been this worthiness piece, this worthiness wound that I've been really spending a lot of deep time working on these last, a lifetime really, but specifically these last few years, it's been a very intentional work around these three areas. And I think that's been helping me really get to the place where I can name that I am a priestess and move into this path and be seen, and know there might be judgments, and still be okay with walking this path that I know is so true to me, and I know is part of my journey and part of my life meaning in this life that I'm on. Yeah.
That makes so much sense and it resonates with me so much. I
Mm.
feel like those are certainly some of the same struggles I've had on my journey. Um, definitely the whole concept of being seen and what does it mean to A, put yourself out there in general,
Yeah.
and then B, to layer on this perhaps non-traditional spirituality and non-traditional healing role, and to like take on that label has been definitely something that I've struggled with, but I really resonate with what you said about it being part of the life purpose. Like the more I do it, the more I can no longer deny this is one of the things that I'm meant to do in this world. And it just feels so right. And so it's just about having the self-worth and confidence of honoring that, even if other people don't get it. And that's
Yeah.
kind of the place I've been trying to come to it. And it's definitely still a journey in some ways, but I feel like it grows and evolves every day, and the more and more we go deeper into the work. And the idea of the imposter syndrome, I think that has really come up for me in multiple ways in this journey, where there's just, and I'm not sure how much of this is just a personal thing inside of me and how much of this is part of the training we receive in the academic world that we constantly need to be validated by outside sources, like what grades are we getting, what licensure did you get, like all of that kind of stuff. And so at first, I really struggled with, is it okay for me to take on this label and to put it on myself? And who determines that? It's not like there's a board of priestesses who says like, yes, you are one of the ones that is being called, at least not in this day and age. Perhaps sometime in the ancient past, that was, there was something along those lines. So it's really been a journey of listening to my own intuition about it, listening to the messages I'm receiving from my work with the goddesses, and also real just kind of recognizing that I can validate my own truth has been part of it. And also, I think I shared I can't remember if it was in the first video or the second video, but hearing other people who have been priests who have taken on that label and have talked about like, okay, well, what are the things that we're doing when we're holding that space as priestess and recognizing I've been doing that forever. That's what comes naturally to me and what I've worked toward, even if I haven't put that label on it. So why am I holding myself back from really claiming the label that feels right to me?
I love
It's been a journey.
that. Makes so much sense. And I forgot which video it was, but yeah, when you were talking about your journey from being a therapist to helping women as far as connecting with their bodies to you've
Mhm.
always been a priestess. It was so clear. Everything just kept popping up. You've been a priestess this whole time. And I think there is something really powerful about being seen and naming it and claiming it.
Mhm.
And I think you're totally right. That is actually part of this priestess journey, I
Mhm.
think,
Mhm.
to work through those pieces and to come into that title and that recognition of this life path.
Mhm. Mhm. And I guess, I mean, I think it's it's interesting. It's almost like through working through those challenges that we grow enough internally and spiritually in order to hold that space
Yeah.
for other women. So it just feels so perfectly divinely orchestrated that I think each of us goes through that journey to get to where we are now and where we're going.
Yeah, makes so sense. This cyclical pattern and supporting others because I know we're not alone
Mhm.
in these struggles and these challenges of imposter syndrome and worth and being seen in this world and really also feeling so called to the goddess, to the priestess path.
Mhm. Absolutely. Has there been anything that you found particularly helpful in helping you work through some of the challenges thus far?
Yeah, so there's been a few different layers. I think one, definitely doing these spiritual practices of really kind of putting the goddess in every part of my life has been helpful, whether that's picking oracle cards and really feeling, oh, my intuition was right here. That did show up, or doing these body-based practices or these really deep meditations with the goddesses, being connected with the earth, just things that ground me. The more sacred spiritual experiences I have, the more my intuition lights up, the more my vitality and my sense of being alive and lights up, and the more I feel like there's no more doubt in my mind, the more that I just know so deeply this is my path. Another piece that's been really huge for me lately is connecting with others and seeing others who are on this path. It makes me feel less alone and also inspires me because I think if everyone else stayed small and listened to this internalized shame or this self-judgment, then I would be missing out on so much healing. So many other people would be missing out on this healing. And so that's been really inspiring and helping me to realize that me joining this, I think is part of this collective shift that is happening, that more and more people are reclaiming the sacred wisdom. And I think we need sensitivity. We need this goddess energy. We need the divine feminine now more than ever. And so there's also this part of me that just feels really inspired and called to join this the shift that is happening right now.
Absolutely. I would definitely agree with both of those things that the more sacred experiences I've had, the more it just feels completely right and
Mhm.
brings me a sense of fulfillment. And then as I see other women who are stepping into their priestess gifts and kind of holding that role and claiming that title for themselves, it has made it feel so much like, yes, I can do that too. There's nothing different between them and I other than the willingness to take that risk and be out there. And it gives me a little bit of bravery and courage when I can see that.
Yeah, that we're not alone, and there's other people who are connecting with this energy that we've talked about, and yeah, and how inspiring that is to collectively connect with one another and just shift things that are happening.
Absolutely, absolutely. So for those people who might be watching or listening that are like, yes, I feel called to this goddess journey and maybe even to the priestess journey, why don't we share maybe some of our tips for getting started with that? Is there anything in particular you'd like to start with?
Yeah, so I think first thing is just connect with your intuition. I think there's a lot of information out there of what it what it looks like to be on the priestess path or the goddess journey or even the witch journey or whatever that is. And I think sometimes that can parallel some of these other things like what we talked about with school, where it's somebody top down kind of telling you what your path needs to look like. And I think there is something so empowering and so sacred about this goddess journey where it's all about our own unique wisdom, our own connection to the goddess. And so I would suggest anybody who's feeling this rumblings or this pull, come into your intuition, come into your body. What lights you up? What makes you feel alive? What gives you that aha moment? For me, it's very much body based. I find that just connecting with my body can be so grounding and nourishing, whether that's doing dance or even there's this local kind of place that they make all these kind of oils and lotions, and so I'll feel Aphrodite's energy and I'll anoint my body and I just feel so goddessy. Or connecting, finding oracle cards that I really feel pulled to, finding goddess energy meditations that really just make me feel alive, make my heart expand, make me feel grounded in my body. And so I would say, what makes you feel alive? What makes you feel grounded? What makes your heart expand? Those are the things that I would suggest being called to, and trust that there's no right way to be on this goddess journey. And I really think it's all about our own unique wisdom and connection and gifts to the goddess.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think one thing we kind of wanted to flesh out for people is if you're having any challenges with understanding, like, what is my intuition? How does it speak to me? How do I listen to it? Um, as Giulietta is mentioning, there's a couple different layers to it, I think, where there's that body piece where you will feel really good in your body as you move toward the things that are right for you. You'll feel light, you'll feel expanded, you'll just have that gut sense of like, yes, this is for me. And those things are not for you will kind of just flatline or leave you feeling contracted or just not right within yourself. And also listening to your heart, like what feelings come up, I think is really important. Does, what in front of you excite you, bring you joy, bring you passion, or is it kind of just whatever, or it even makes you contract a little bit as well? And then I know a big part of my journey in listening to my intuition was understanding how our intuitive senses work and the different ways that intuitive information can come through to you. And then using that framework, learning how my individual unique intuition speaks to me. So I just thought I would go over for people, just in case this is new information for anybody, a little bit about the intuitive senses. So you can start tuning in to like, oh yeah, I get my intuitive guidance, my intuitive nudges this way or that way. So with intuition, I think there are actually eight major intuitive senses, but there are four that are the big ones that people usually will experience. The first is clairvoyance, which is known as intuitive seeing. So it's any messages you get through a visual way. So whether it's when you close your eyes and in your mind's eye, you see a vision or you see colors or you see a symbol, or if you tend to see, let's say, like angel numbers, and you feel your eyes being drawn to certain symbols and signs in the world, that comes through your clairvoyance, your intuitive seeing sense. Then for some people, we all have all of these senses, but one or more of them may be stronger for you than others. So the next sense is our clairaudience, which is our intuitive hearing, which is basically any intuitive information that comes in through a verbal means. It can be like hearing a voice, usually sounds like your own inner voice inside your head, giving you guidance or wisdom. Sometimes it's when you get a song that like gets stuck in your head that has like a special meaning for you. It can be when your hearing is drawn to, let's say, a conversation in a cafe, that all of a sudden you hear the answer to the question you have. That's all guidance that's coming through your clairaudience. Thirdly, we have our clairsentience, which is our intuitive feeling. So, how, like, do you get a gut feeling about something, a gut yes or a gut no? Or do you sometimes feel emotions coming up for you that are not necessarily your own, but are a piece of guidance that direct you in a situation? That's something that will happen for someone who's very empathic and has a strong clairsentience sense. And then lastly, claircognizance, which is intuitive knowing. And this is like downloads, just stuff that pops into your head that all of a sudden you have a knowing about. And so as you start to work with your own intuition and listen to that body sense and heart sense, also kind of to tune into, am I getting any guidance or wisdom from these other intuitive senses? And as you start to pinpoint, like, oh, yes, I often hear things clairaudiently, or I often see signs or symbol, it will add another layer to this journey where it can help direct you. Okay, like, what is the next thing I need to learn? What is the next direction I need to go? Who's the next person I should connect with? So I always think that that's important information to have.
Totally. I love that. When you were talking, I had all these aha moments of even just recently, these times that I've connected with my intuition. And it's just so, there's something really special too of kind of getting to know what our unique intuition is, because I think it's really easy to kind of push away things or try to discount our intuition or not know, but to kind of really get to know, okay, these are actually when my intuition has been spot on. And that, I think, the more that we listen to it, the more that we have that awareness, also the stronger our intuition gets.
Mhm. Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, the more you listen, the more clear and easy it's going to be.
Yeah.
Of course, there's also the aspect of making sure you give yourself time in your day to get
Mm.
quiet and pay attention to those things. I know in our busy world, sometimes that's so hard, but I have found that one of the keys to my goddess path has been really prioritizing spending some time every day, especially in the morning before the day gets chaotic, doing first just being quiet and being with myself, but then also doing rituals that help me feel connected to the goddesses and help me feel embodied as my goddess self.
Mm, I love that. And starting the day with that, I think, is such a beautiful practice. And that's something that I know that you've shared a bit is just really every part of your morning, whether it's drinking your coffee or doing rituals or being quiet, that you're already kind of opening up your senses, your intuition, that connection to the sacred, to the goddess, first thing in the morning, which I think is just so important and really hard to remember to do when, a lot of times in the morning, we're tired, we're groggy, we go on autopilot, but then we can end up feeling a bit disconnected and frazzled before our day even starts.
Absolutely. So I guess that would be, I think, maybe one of our big tips for anybody
Mhm.
watching this video. Like, start to identify how your intuition speaks to you. Start to identify what helps you feel goddessy and connected to the goddess, and then give yourself some time in the day to actually, sit with that and work with that. If you can in the morning, if it's not possible, still do it sometime during the day, whenever
Mhm.
you can.
Yeah, and I think that's also part of this path of kind of self love and naming needs, which I think can be a little bit hard if we're more sensitive or empathic or on this goddess journey. There is something about also claiming this is something that I need to do for my own well being, for my life path. This is me honoring this divine calling that I'm having. And so I think even carving out that time can be such a part of this priestess journey.
Absolutely, absolutely. And something that Julietta and I are planning to do moving on from these videos is to make some individual videos around how to connect with the different goddess energies. And so if you guys are interested in that and you're feeling that call, stick around for that. Keep your eyes open for it. Subscribe to our channels because we really would like to do a deep dive in how to do that.
Definitely, because I think each one of these goddesses and their energy can just be so powerful. And there is something really special about being able to call in these different energies, depending on kind of what we're needing and trusting our intuition too. What goddess am I needing to connect with right now? That's been a huge part of my journey is really starting to feel into what would support me in that moment.
And what goddess is showing up for you, whether or not
Yeah,
you needed her.
that's true.
Show up.
Because sometimes that energy has a mind of its own.
Absolutely. Now, for those who might feel that deep yes to the role of being a priestess and taking on that label for themselves, let's maybe talk a little bit about how to get started with that too.
Yeah. So I know we had kind of talked about just in general, what are some steps that you can take? And then later on, we'll kind of talk about if you're a therapist and you're feeling called to that path, that there might be some additional pieces there. But I think my biggest piece is one, intuition and really finding what your intuition looks like, what it feels like, connecting to it, and starting to trust it and listen to it more, creating that sacred time in your day to just come home to yourself, to your inner knowing. And I think community is so huge. I know we touched on that, but finding also intuitively who you feel called to. Is there somebody that when they speak or their energy just really resonates for you? And building a community of other people who are grounding, who are you are safe to be your full goddessy self with. I think that is something that is also just on so many levels so healing and so important, because I think that it can feel very isolating to feel the call of the priestess and to not have community or other people that you can kind of connect with around that. So those are my two pieces. One is really finding your intuition, trusting that, finding community. And I think those all will help with the imposter syndrome, the self judgment, the fear of being seen, all of those common challenges that can come with this priestess path. Yeah.
And then I think I would add to that, exploring, what are your personal gifts that are going to be the mode or the method that you transmit this priestess energy through, right? Are you someone who is drawn to doing energy healing? Are you someone who's drawn to working with sound for healing? Are you someone who's really into essential oils or herbalism? Are you an astrology priestess? Are you a channel, an oracle? Do you work with oracle cards, or other tarot or any other way of channeling divine guidance? What are some other things? Movement, yoga
Mhm.
teachers, other exercise teachers. All of those things are maybe gifts that you are then going to be channeling divine energy through and are part of how you uniquely hold that priestess role. So I think that that's something to tune into a little bit as well.
Yes, thank you so much for naming that piece because that's also the beauty of this priestess path is it's no one size fits all. There are so many beautiful ways to connect with that, and I love that we're all. Some people really it's all about the body and movement, and others it's astrology or herbs, and we all have those things that light us up and make us feel alive and give us that inner expansiveness and knowing. And so getting to deep dive and explore those pieces is huge.
Mhm, absolutely. And then I think finding mentors within those things
Mhm.
that can train you further and can help you hold the space for other people is part of the journey as well.
Totally building community. Yeah.
It does go back to that, I
Mhm.
think. And then for if you're a therapist and you're watching our video or listening to this, some things that Julietta and I were thinking about was just sharing with you guys how the different forms that we've seen people, um, uh, I should say pathways we've seen people take to try to um, in- incorporate their calling to the goddess and their calling to priestesshood with their background as a therapist. I think it can take a lot of different forms. So we just wanted to spend a few minutes sharing about that. I know for myself personally, I feel like I've kind of seen three camps of people. One are people who continue to practice as therapists, but with specific clients that they feel it's appropriate, start to bring in some alternative methods of healing within their sessions. I've seen people do that. Secondly, I've seen people who have decided to open up coaching practices or yeah, I guess we can call them spiritual coaching practices
Mhm.
in a line in side by side. Can think
The
of the
dual
word.
path.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
yeah, side by side with their normal therapy practices. And then they just make it really clear that over here in this practice, this is where they're doing their traditional therapy. And then over here in this practice, this is where they're doing coaching or other alternative healing practices. And then I've seen people who have decided that they want to step fully into being a priestess and a healer in that mode and move away from their traditional therapy practices. So I think, and I'm curious, Juliet, if there's anything else that's come to mind for you, but I think there's many different options here.
Yeah, I would say those have been the three that I've been seeing more and more. And I think, what we had talked about too is that might shift. Maybe right now you feel called to do a dual path or to kind of incorporate, or you feel like you just need to move fully into that priestess role. And again, giving that time and that expansiveness to really kind of feel into that and see what feels right. And I think your intuition typically will kind of know what's up about that. And I have seen people really, therapists, very successfully do all of those three paths. And I think there is no right singular way. It's just kind of finding your own unique journey.
Absolutely. And I think just to kind of share for myself, since I put a pause on my traditional therapy practice quite a while ago, it felt like a very natural transition to step into coaching and healing and holding ceremony and priestessing. Um, fully in that way. But I think if you're in the middle of being in your traditional practice that may not necessarily feel like the right thing to do immediately. So honor that. That's totally okay. I think, Giulietta, you're in a little bit of a different place than I was. Do you want to share a little bit about that?
Yeah, so I think when I was really feeling called to this, I was thinking, is there any way I could be one of those therapists that kind of melds these two worlds? I did have a few clients that really were drawn to archetypal psychology, and so I kind of, when appropriate and when that was something that was already something that seemed to mesh with how those clients healed, I would incorporate it. But overall, I got really clear. I needed to have two separate practices. And so for me, I had to think what really lights me up as a therapist, and that's sex and couples therapy. And so I really had to focus on creating that and then being able to move fully into this priestess path as a whole separate journey, a whole separate practice that just felt so right for me. When the minute I made that decision, everything just I
Mm,
felt expansive, I felt playful, I felt creative, I felt like I could just be all of me in that because even if you do bring in some of these elements into therapist practice, you're still a therapist. And so there was a lot of pieces that I just knew I couldn't quite mesh and bring into that. And so for me, that really got me so excited and lit me up and made me feel very alive. Who knows, in the future, I may move fully into priestess work, and I am just kind of really opening up and trusting my intuition on what that looks like. But right now, this feels like my yes. And so again, it's not linear. I think sometimes some of it's trial and error and seeing, okay, maybe this works, maybe this doesn't work, and really trusting and feeling what feels right. So that's been my own journey. It's just really this grounding and figuring things out.
And so, for those of you who might be resonating with our different paths, I did want to share with people, both Julietta and I will leave the ways that you can reach out to us and our contact info in the description boxes if you'd like to explore where your journey's at. And we're also going to put together some resources so that if you're feeling to call to work with the goddesses more, that there's some books and podcasts we love to share with you guys, as well as if you're looking to step into priestesshood more, some resources for that too. And then, as I mentioned before, we are hoping to create a series of videos where we do a little bit more of a deep dive into each goddess energy and how to work with it for your own healing and growth, and to incorporate that beautiful goddess energy into your world as well. So we'd love to hear from you guys, like what you would be interested in learning about. Which goddess do you feel called to work with? What are the issues that are present for you that you feel like it would really benefit you to soften into a goddess energy around? Let us know about that in the comments below. And is there anything else you wanted to add, Julietta?
I think that is perfect, and just how fun this has been connecting with you. And I'm just so excited to hear from those who are watching these videos who feel the call of the goddess or the priestess, and yeah, just continuing to support one another in this journey.
Absolutely. So, guys, go ahead and if you'd like to follow along with our journey together and these coming videos, please hit that subscribe button over here on Creating Inner Beauty and over at Julietta's channel, Liberated Goddess. And those resources will be down below. And we look forward to talking to you in our next video.
Yes.
Bye.
Bye.